go. Let's go.
Welcome everybody to another interview with NerdTots. Hopefully neither Adon or I fuck it up in any kind of way. Chances are we might. But today we have the director of The Other Side. You can check the trailers out on YouTube. Check them out. It's dope as shit. Hopefully we'll get more of The Other Side coming in the future. Director Damian Alpizar.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there?
All right. Now, have you ever ventured into the fantasy role-playing aspect of any of that may be tied into what you're doing now?
I have not played D&D, except for on the video games. I have played Magic the Gathering, and I have played Vampire the Masquerade. I know. Magic the Gatherers and D&Ders.
Well, no, I just introduced Jay to Magic the Gathering like less than a year ago.
About a year ago.
Oh, that's true.
And now Adon has not beaten me since.
Oh, man.
Bull and lies! I just beat you the other night.
You heard it here first, folks.
May God be my witness and strike me down now.
Adon, the student has become the teacher. You hear it here first on NerdTots.
No, that's the thing.
I'm going to turn the interview on you. So, Adon, how do you feel about your protege passing you up? How do you feel about this?
I don't feel bad because he actually pulls in. We usually do it with groups, and he pulls in everybody else to assist him. So that it's a gang warfare against me.
Time out. Wait a minute. Let's not tell lies. Me and you have played one-on-one, and I've spanked that ass. But that's not here or there. We'll leave it there.
I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. That Adon is upset that you're able to lead a team to vanquish an enemy. Is that
tell him the tradition of every game we've ever played. Tell him the tradition.
There's an unofficial tradition.
It's official. It's not unofficial.
In our group, that apparently I'm not allowed to win at the very least the first game every night we play. Doesn't matter what it is. They have to beat me. So we've played Munchkins, we've played Magic the Gathering, we've played all sorts of other games, and they literally get together and they're like, okay, so this is what we need to beat him.
And his biggest problem with me is I'll get everyone to turn on him.
Well, Adon, I'm just going to say that I feel like you need to work on your people skills.
The only person
some of them to turn with you. The
only person that ever helps him out is my wife.
Yes.
We've gotten my wife into playing Munchkin with us, and the only reason she'll help him out is because she wants him to screw me.
Exactly. The only time that didn't happen was we played Monopoly, and I was actually beating him into the ground.
No one ever wins at Monopoly.
And then his wife comes in and just gives him money. Doesn't even negotiate, just gives him money. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Because that money comes with favors.
Yeah, she took vows, man. She's like, all right, well, here goes my money. Here you go, my Monopoly money.
So yeah, have you played recently, Magic, or?
I have not. So funny story. I gave up all video games. I play them very, very, very rarely. This is coming from the guy who wanted to make video games for a living. Problem is, I get too involved. I love video games. I love D&D. I won't act. But I will role play I will cosplay, I will role play, I will get in that character, and it will consume me. And I've found myself losing weeks. Like, I should have been working on my film. I shouldn't be doing this. So I banned myself from doing things like that until I complete my first feature film, at which point then I will buy a new PlayStation and I will rejoin the gaming world. But I felt like every time I was playing something, it just took me away from my goal. And I was like, this is just too distracting. I love it too much. I cry. Not really, but I do kind of cry on the inside when I hear people got the new game and they were playing the new thing, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that so bad. But
I understand.
My crack, man. I can't do it. It's my crack. I know my crack, so I got to get away from it.
So Adon, don't invite him. He can't do it to himself.
I could do a one and done. I could do a one and done and be like, all right, I'm here. I see it. This was fun. I'm out. And it's like, get the taste, just put a little bit, just a little taste, but I can't get involved.
It's a one shot. Just like have him come in, walk out, play a character, and like, here's your team compass, and I'm out.
Yeah, and then I'm out, and that's it.
Problem with our one shots are they're not really ever one shots.
The,
They're always like 3 shots.
only because these guys don't like they get distracted in their own game, and we're like,
I literally made a one shot that was supposed to be a one shot. There was only one big bad. You took 3 days to find where the big bad is, and I've made 4 encounters where you can find him.
that wasn't my
Oh
fault.
man, that sounds like some game master needs to talk to his. I don't know what Don was, what character he was at that time. Y'all need to have a side conversation about that. Like, listen, when I say Ali Ali Oxenfree, okay, that's where he's at. I'm trying to get home. I'm trying to get done.
So
I told them to go right, they went left.
he shouldn't.
You're like,
talk
I'm not
to-
falling for that.
This is the same guy that, like, no matter what character you give him, you're like, you're a lawfully good character. You're like the law enforcement, but actually law enforcement doing your job. And he's like, I want to kick the kitten. That is not your job. It's like,
That kitten has gone up in the tree for the last time.
I got tired of bringing it down, so I wanted to teach it a lesson.
So, real talk, Rich Man Fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has one, right? So y'all probably have Rich Man Fantasy. Like, if I had $1 billion, I would do this, and whether it works or not, I would do it. Rich Man Fantasy. I want a probably not as big as a Disney World theme park, but I want a large plot of land, VR cosplay kind of thing. I want to do a LARP, but I want to do it to the extent of Disney. Like, I want to own a field with castles and things and dungeons, and I want to have like an augmented reality goggles, whatever the case is, so that not only can you fight each other, but if you do go down in the dungeon and there is a holographic dragon, or put big LED screens that give you that 3D perspective where you guys have to do your thing. Like, I want to do an immersive LARP theme park where you can buy them, you can buy the beer there, you can, like, everything about the Harry Potter land, only bigger, and you can fight and you can LARP there and you can do all the other things. So if I had my Rich Man Fantasy, that's one of the things I would do. And that's why I need to be a Rich Man Fantasy, because I would also retire in there. I would not ever come back out.
so, like, I actually saw, and I gotta research it, but I saw there was a laser tag facility that's kind of interacting the VR tech.
Mm-hmm.
So, but granted, that's a large room arena versus
Right.
the immersive, surroundings of like a compound.
Well,
which
with
would be
Unreal
cool.
5, the way it looks right now, I think we're not too far. If I was going to put you in a big land and I had, like, like this foam tree but if you looked at it through VR, realistic looking trees there, but if you bumped into it, it's just a foam pole, which is what they're doing with these arenas. If I did something big enough like that and I built a 20,000 square foot arena, where it had, like, things that you can go up and go down, whatever the case is, but it is a LARP land in VR, and the headsets were a little lighter, and you're using, like, Unreal 5, because that's what they're using in Mandalorian and stuff like that. So, and you're using, like, the real scan. This is me talking real nerd stuff. So they have, I'm forgetting the software right now. Someone is going to correct me in chat. They have photorealistic scans. They do 3D scans of LiDAR scans of real things. So you can have a real tree, LiDAR'd out and placed in this thing. If they had that, I would be game for investing in something like that and doing something like that. Like, you want to do D&D? Let's do D&D here. Still appoint your game masters and everything like that, except when he tells you to go left, you better go left, because that VR pit that you fall in is going to make you really regret that you went right instead.
See, and I like that, because that is a merge of 3 different things. So you got your D&D, of course, and then you got your LARP. But instead of being like a foam sword, you're using the VR tech to simulate everything. And so I love that concept. That's actually a really good concept.
Yeah, because then you could look like an orc. Like, if that's your character, and I look over at you. I mean, it's basically Ready Player One, except it's in a contained thing and it's not online, because those suits that they're talking about are just ridiculous right now. So we're not quite there yet. But, I mean, that's between Westworld and Ready Player One. It's somewhere in between there that I'm trying to accomplish on a fantasy level.
Me, I was a simple one. Growing up as a kid, I used to do martial arts. I'd be like, I want a martial art compound. You grow up, you could do martial arts, wake up day in, day out. And then, like, But growing into it, like as a fantasy thing, I would like now. I still want to do the martial arts stuff, but there'll be Nerf over in one area, and I'll be honest, there'll be like Transformers dedicated facility. Like I want a real life Transformer. Hell, Japan made a giant Gundam. If they can make a giant Gundam, we can make a Transformer. Bring me Optimus Prime in real life. You know what? I'll take it.
He's smaller than a Gundam, though.
You know what? And I feel like that's more practical.
Yeah.
It's like the Gundam is like a skyscraper, where Optimus Prime is like more reasonable height.
Yeah, you can definitely get around a lot easier. You know, in your VR, if you did a VR martial arts environment, you could actually have Mr. Miyagi train you. That would be.
And you know what? I used to love the idea of because I know they had games where you could do VR boxing, right? But like a true martial art VR game, like where you actually doing it. Granted, you need space because you will kick the wall.
You will fly. You will spin kick, hook kick your TV off the wall.
Absolutely. But like if you
your
think
wife
about it, like,
comes in the room's like, "Hey, honey, did you get the?"
Now you're on your way to jail.
It's like he struck me. Like I thought I was fighting Kimbo Slice.
Right.
Like he came back to life. and I thought you were the Slice
Kimbo
baby.
let his guard down, and I took my chance.
Unfortunately, it landed on your chin. I'm sorry, honey.
But what about you, Jay? You have no billionaire
Rich
fantasy?
man fantasy? What's your billionaire fantasy?
I'm going Muslim. I'm having like 20 wives.
That cannot be easy, though.
I'm just going to be relaxing. If we were both rich at the time, I would invest in your idea. Because that sounded great. That sounded great. I can see myself, because me and my wife were talking about LARPing the other day. Like, if there was a place dedicated to that, like, especially in that manner, man, I'll go. I'll definitely plan a vacation around that and enjoy my time in a theme park like that.
Yeah. So you go downstairs. You're like, okay, I just left my castle resort, my inn. I'm in the inn. I go downstairs. There's a wench downstairs and a bartender, and they're like serving you meat in the morning. And you go outside and let's go fight. Let me see if I can go win myself some meat tonight or something like that. Like you could actually win stuff, like make money and stuff like that. Like it actually.
We're copyrighting that idea. Nobody's stealing that. We're copyrighting that. Legal team, get on that. We're gonna.
Disney's already been monitoring this entire conversation, man.
Probably.
So,
we're not on their level yet.
Internet's cutting out. Like Disney's like, no. We want this.
If they were really monitoring it, they would have been cutting his feed, because that's where the idea is coming from, not from you and I. Now, you did mention earlier that you're a comic book fan. How young or how old were you when you got into it, and are you a DC guy or a Marvel guy or independent guy?
Okay, so young. I don't follow it nearly as much as I used to. I follow it to some extent, and luckily I have Adon. So if I need to catch up on anything, I just be like, "Yo, Adon, what's going on right now?" And he'll just download me with more information than I probably needed, but I'll take it. So I started off DC. Batman is my favorite character. I was a martial artist, and out of all the characters that I could relate to, Batman made sense. Not because my parents got shot in an alley, but if I wanted, he stood up for. I just hate injustice, and he stood up for injustice. And so here was a human. And I was like, okay, cool. I got to train in martial arts. And I got to make a lot of money. I can be Batman. As a kid, that made logical sense to me. It's like, all right, make a bunch of money, train in martial arts. I can be Batman. All right, cool. So immediately went with Batman. I like Superman. I feel that Superman is a this is going to probably not be popular. I like what Zack Snyder was doing with Superman and Man of Steel. Making it more serious, because Superman's so perfect, and like in the Christopher Reeve Superman, he's so good. I like Superman 2 better because Superman had a little bit of flaws, and now the comic book writers write Superman with flaws, and they understood that early Superman was like too good. That's why I went towards Batman instead of Superman. Later, the comic book started giving Superman a personality, and giving Kal-El personality, and giving him flaws, and giving him doubts. But at first, Superman was not like that. He was super polished. Um, I like Spider-Man. So if I was crossing over to Marvel, I was a Spider-Man fan. Primarily, again, relatability. Here's a teenager dealing with teenage stuff. I was dealing with teenage stuff, and um,
So you started going around your house looking for a spider to bite you?
I may have not killed all the spiders that were around. If they had funky colors, as long as they weren't red and black, I was cool. I might let them take a nibble. Um, but Spider-Man, the cool thing was like, yo, man, more. It's kind of it was Spider-Man's the previous more money, more problems. Spider-Man had all this extra power, but still had all these problems. And I'm like, well, damn, I guess it doesn't matter how much power you have, you're still gonna have all these issues. So he was my more money, more problems guy before that came out. So that's why that's my Marvel thing. And then obviously X-Men, huge X-Men fan. And of the X-Men, yes, I was a Wolverine guy. Again, I'm not a Cyclops guy. I was more of a Wolverine guy.
No one's judging you here. This is
Yeah.
a judge-free zone.
No. It's just that
Judge-free zone. Cyclops sucked. We get it. We
I
get
tend
it.
to gear
Cyclops
towards those.
sucked.
I tend to gear towards those darker characters. Um, was in love with Rogue in the cartoon.
Who wasn't?
With that being said, hold on, because that just something just popped in my head. Me and Adon had this kind of back and forth. Who is the true villain in X-Men? Was it Magneto or was it Charles Xavier?
Who's the true villain? Which X-Men? X-Men the first movie?
We're just saying overall. Like,
overall.
Overall, in general, if you look at all their stories, whose ideology was the true correct one?
Xavier's okay. So Xavier's thing about coexisting and living and let the status quo be is cool, and it was a peaceful route. But Magneto, if you just look at him from a perspective of any repressed race of people that we have, in our world today, there's always someone who has to rise up to the occasion. Whether it's your MLKs or whether it's your Mandelas or whatever, there's always someone who has to rise up to the occasion to bring equality. And I compared them to your, if just using the civil rights movement, your Martin Luther King compared to your Malcolm X. That's both trying to accomplish the same thing. So I don't really consider either of them villains, and that's why I think they got along a lot. But there's always, me personally, there's always that thing. This is where my Batman comes in. There's always this thing of, well, you can't be as bad as your enemy. So if you're killing and your enemy's killing, then you're no different than they are. So in that case, marginally, I give it to Xavier, but I really would rather go with Magneto, especially older Magneto. Older Magneto is more the hero type that I want in the between the two. Older Xavier gets more into himself and more into he becomes like less worldly and more into protecting, and he becomes more and more in his shell. I like older Magneto because older Magneto comes out of his shell and he's like, okay, I get it. Maybe when I was younger and a little bit more zealous, I was just like, you die, crush the train. But older Magneto was a little bit more cautious about that. Same thing with Wolverine. Wolverine would slice everyone to death, and then older Wolverine was like, all right, let me not try to kill everybody in the room. Not everybody needs to die, So I like those characters better.
There you go.
My idea was, I can stand behind Magneto because Magneto told you what he wanted up front. He didn't lie to you. He didn't sugarcoat anything. But Charles, he preached equality, but he would send his own people to death, to die, on dangerous missions. Where's the equality in that? You're putting your own at risk. And there has been shown where he will manipulate people using his abilities to push his ideas.
No, understood. But is that any different than when we send relief soldiers to to a war zone in harm's way to help refugees get out of harm's way. We send our own because we're more equipped, because we're more prepared, because we have a better chance of actually rescuing those people than somebody over there. That's kind of that approach. It's like if I have the responsibility and the power to do something about it, I'm just as guilty if I don't do something about it. So Xavier putting his own at risk is more like him saying, "Look, we're trained for this. We've got the powers. Yes, it's a chance that we're taking, but if we don't do something, then more destruction, more pain, more death. And if we sit by and we could have done something and do nothing, then aren't we just as bad as the people that are causing the problems?" So there's that whole, you know, what comes first, action, reaction, and so on and so forth. What begets what? But Xavier did use his powers to manipulate people. Xavier has done some shady stuff. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Xavier's reaped, and I think that's why later on Xavier has the problems that he has, because he realizes that he wasn't even to himself. He had to eventually face himself in the mirror and see that, I'm not my ideals. I sometimes did shady shit, and I I may have chastised Magneto for being upfront with it, but I did some stuff, and I had to live with those demons. And so much of what Xavier did ended up hurting him and mutant kind in the future, and depending on which book and which storyline you're following. But Xavier was responsible for a lot of that stuff, and it backfired. You know what I mean? His good intentions backfired on him. But that's why these comic books are so. That's why they're so fascinating, because they had enough time to have characters go up and down and up and back and forth. And I'm good. I'm bad. Because we change and ideals change.
I agree 100%. And that, if anybody asks me, that's one of the reasons why I love comics to this day, is because you grow with the comic and the comic grows with you. Now, granted, not every writer is going to be great, but that's part of the learning. And so you're going to have those stories that, okay, those are garbage stories. Some people may like them better than you do, but that's why I enjoy it. And it's because of that concept, because how he grew up, and that's how come I feel like Xavier now would be more of a bad guy than Magneto. If you take like the sum of his whole, yes, I would say absolutely. If you're talking about head count, Magneto has Xavier beat on a head count. But as far as
see,
I want to say he's put some more bodies in the ground. But Xavier has
debatable.
definitely manipulated and violated probably more civil rights and personal aspects than Magneto has. So, like, Damian, you ever saw Jessica Jones on Netflix?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so think of the Purple Man. That's how I see Xavier, because like when he's not only like the scenes where he's stopping people, but there's been accounts where he's literally wiped their memories, and he still has them work for him, and does all this other stuff. That's a violation of personal being, and so and then he's doing stuff like that on a personal level, just because he doesn't want to deal with the guilt of telling them like, oh, I was the one that got your brother killed.
Right.
So I'm just gonna wipe the fact that you even had a brother from your memory.
Yeah.
So
and that's the thing. That's the kind of things that haunt Xavier later on.
Exactly.
That's why if you're just upfront and stuff like that, I mean, yeah, it's Xavier is definitely a very questionable leader. For that matter, you could say, I mean, Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom's more villainous than either of those two, because Doctor Doom is like, he doesn't have the great intentions for the rest of the world. He's out for himself in his town, his little city, but that's about it.
Well, and I would actually make the argument he's actually better for the world because of it. Like if
he's a better leader than Charles.
Yeah,
he is absolutely the more villainous character.
He's the more villainous, though.
Yeah, he's without I am cutthroat. I will do what I need to do to get things done, and woe be the one who steps in my way. But he'll do stuff everybody in his Latveria place love him as a leader, because he's just outlandish enough. He's like, we're gonna do Doomsday. Was that once a year? He's like, no, I just feel like celebrating tomorrow. So we're all having a parade. We're all getting food. It's on me. That kind of is like, and he could do that as many times a year. He'll just do stuff like that. But not a single person in his country like goes without food. Not a single one of them gets sick.
Everyone in Liberia will jump in front of a blade for it.
Yeah, exactly. He treats them like they're his children.
That's why I will say that he's a better leader than Charles. He leads his country with an iron fist, yes. But everyone there don't see it that way. No. Everyone's fed, everyone's clothed, everyone's happy.
Now, in Damian's defense, he probably doesn't know about Charles now.
In recent books?
Yeah. No. So technically he has his own country now, right? I would say.
Yeah.
He has an island.
Well, that's because they reset the X-Men origins now. Now it's only 2 books, Power, and something else that I'm House of X, and Power of X. Now it's only from 2 point of views, basically. And you got Charles and I think Magneto. I'm not 100%. I haven't been reading up like that.
Basically, long story short,
Charles is shaky.
Charles manipulated the world in a sense that he's like, okay, we have an island. This is for mutant kind only. We invented a drug that will cure any disease, and we'll sell it to the nations of the world if you declare our island an actual country, and where we grant amnesty for any mutants, but only mutants. And in the background, he's selling the drug to the countries that don't want to side with him as a contraband. So he's handling both fronts. Basically, villains and heroes alike, all mutants, are now working underneath Xavier. He's manipulating the whole show.
Yeah, he totally Castro'd that.
That is exactly a Castro move.
Yeah, he Castro'd the hell out of that. All right, cool. So
he's going to be on T-shirts soon.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's pretty bad, but technically he could have just done something completely different. I mean, Charles is super powered up Cerebro and just been like convinced everyone to be like, mutants are chill. Mutants are chill. We all like mutants. Everyone's cool with mutants.
The crazy thing is, in the whole time that he's had Cerebro, he's never thought of that idea. And now he's walking around with a helmet that is Cerebro.
They got to call me, man, because I got these all day, man. I got these all day.
He's dropping gems here. He's dropping gems.
The problem is that if they did that, they'd be like, and X-Men's over.
Let's move on to the next thing.
They tried to cancel it a couple of years ago. Let's just.
Yeah. So now on the independent side, I'm very excited about the new Spawn coming out. I'm excited to see what that happens. I'm actually, if I wanted to take a comic book and adopt it to a film, actually I'm thinking I would probably, and I don't know if it's a comic book. Yeah, it is a comic book because Seth MacFarlane's Alice into Darkness, Alice in Chains, not Alice in Chains, that's a band. Alice in Descent into Madness. It was a game based on a comic book about Alice, basically being like actually being crazy and all that jazz. I think that would be a great comic book to adapt, or a game to adapt to a comic book or to a movie. Sorry, because I like the Alice in Wonderland story. Do y'all remember Alice in Wonderland? Like, I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, when her cat tried to eat her.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah. Wait. Are we talking about the
cartoon?
Or
the original Disney cartoon.
The cartoon.
Yo, that was like a scary moment there as a kid, seeing the cat trying to eat her. And then there was like another part. You know how old Disney cartoons, like they edited stuff out, right? So there's like a part where like you could see up her dress, and it was insane. So some of the old Disney cartoon stuff, like I saw some. Look it up on YouTube, guys. They got
a lot of low key. A lot of Disney movies back in the day were sketchy.
Yeah,
they were not for kids. A lot of their movies were sketchy.
Now.
Yeah, but that through that looking glass, that whole idea. Like Tim Burton, I actually enjoyed Tim Burton's take on it because it was mystical. It felt very Tim Burton-y. But now I'm like, man, you know what? Tim Burton made this for kids. Had Tim Burton taken it that same look and gone like with the Alice Descent into Madness, like where she's killing people and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, that actually sounds like something that I would love to get into. Going back to my horror roots, you know what I mean, in that regards. So there's a comic book that I would probably adopt, and there's probably some other ones. I'd like to get more into the independent now. And Don, I mean, with Umbrella Academy and The Boys, now I'm like, yo, I need to start looking at these independents, man, because they've got some serious new, fresh stories to go check out. Because I love X-Men and stuff like that, but again. So now Xavier has an island. All right, cool. That doesn't excite me at all. I'm like, meh.
No, but yeah, the independents. I love finding a golden independent that like I didn't think of. All of a sudden, it like comes out. I'm like, Power Rangers, great. Like, so like it was a fantastic show. We all grew up watching them. We all wanted to be a ranger. I never would have thought that like in today's time that they would start redoing the comic as Power Rangers and they just make it a little bit more mature, and it would be a fantastic series.
Boom Studios is hands down.
It's one of their top sellers right now, if I remember correctly.
Beautifully.
And I believe that whole more serious Power Rangers. I mean, I don't know if what came first, the chicken or the egg, but when I saw that short film that they took down from the internet,
that was great.
Power Rangers serious, I was like, someone's onto something.
That came first before the newer writing, the newer series that they took off with. That short film came out first, and Boom Studios seen it, and they ran with it because it's just like that in the comic books.
Well, I mean, Ninja Turtles the same way. I mean, you could take your Ninja Turtles either way. I'm a big fan of both Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. Like, you can take certain characters and certain groups, and you can say, you know what? Same dynamic, except we're going to take it this way, serious. Same dynamic, but we're going to have fun with it. And Power Rangers was one of those that I was like, wow, I didn't think about that. If you took this serious, this is actually kind of scary. You know, the fate of the world, you're in an alien suit, the fate of the world is on your hands. Like, you're teenagers, like that, people are going to die. And this is going to be bad. You know? Oh, that's okay. We'll just replace you with another Ranger.
Yep, you're always replaceable. It's not like you were special that in actuality. One of the cool concepts, the monsters that were out of clay. So one of the cool concepts that they did in this series is that instead of having the monsters out of clay, they're like, oh, we're going to make sleepers. So they made actual people, and then when they turned them into, like, they would trigger them. And then they would turn, so the people would infiltrate facilities, like Manchurian Candidate style.
Yeah.
And then they would trigger it, and then that would turn into a monster. And then eventually, like, the government will get involved, and like, because let's be honest, like that Power Rangers happened. Like, at no point did like even the police show up and be like, "Hey, we need to do something here."
Yeah, these monsters. This is the 15th time this town's been blown up. Can we please get those Zorgs off of the street?
Like to point out, the construction team they had in every town, they deserve more money. Because in every episode, that city was repaired.
I'll tell you what, that's the best. Like, they must have had Michael Keaton's company working over there, because the kid, he got kicked out of New York, but he went to go work for the Power Rangers because he had that. That's how he got that New York contract. He's like, yo, alien invasion, I got this, no problem. I clean up the Power Rangers set all the time. But yeah, no, because if you were a construction worker over there, you had a hell of a pension plan. You were good. You were set.
Mm-hmm.
I would not live in that town. I would have had a house. I would drive an hour in every time.
It's like, except for the time when the Zords were always in the woods, like on the mountains, and like they drive through. I'm like, I just built this house.
Gosh darn it to hell.
But no, like
my question is how they kept knocking down the trees.
Huh?
I
was just thinking that, and one of the Zords came out of a volcano. How is that not spilling lava everywhere?
Yeah, like, how is that not, like, y'all are still here? That thing comes out every time, every week. Volcano lava. Yeah, things that you forgive as a kid that as an adult you go, wait a sec.
It's like, that does not work. The elephant comes from the Arctic. How does it get here so fast?
Hey, it runs really, really fast. Really, really fast.
I actually want to do I'm not even interested in doing a YouTube channel or anything like that, but I do at some point wanted to do a episode on places that aliens can hide in plain sight. And we would just never know about it. And one of them, just a simple one, you could just park on the dark side of the moon, which people know. But like, honestly, you could have fit all those Zorgs in the ocean.
Oh yeah,
Go find them.
Was it the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the world?
Go put them in the Mariana Trench. They just pop out of the water. Boom, 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 boom. Go find them. Go, good luck.
I used to think that was the Dragon Zord. Where else did the Dragon Zord would be stored? It's in the ocean.
Yeah, just pop them in the ocean. The other thing was if it was in a geosynchronous orbit around the sun with our planet. So here's our sun, here's our planet. We don't really have anything looking on this side of the sun. So if a ship, think about it, a Zord. You could take something the size of a football stadium. You can take anything like the size of Independence Day or whatever. If you parked it on the other side of the sun, it looks like a pin needle from 5 miles away with a big bright bulb in front of it. You know what I mean? Like, you will not see it, and it could just be there. And it's like, how long does it take to get from there to here? If it travels at the speed of light, it's I think it's like 4 minutes from the sun's light to get to our planet. So it could be behind the sun and to us in 3 or 4 minutes. So like, these are places that I haven't seen in films that they've exploited yet, and I keep thinking about it, like, man, you know what? They should just have more aliens just here. Like, they came whenever ago. Why would they go all the way back to their home planet? I just park and just chill.
I mean, science study is pretty much monitoring and whatnot. You're not really going to be going in and out. You're going to study, like Jane with the apes, right?
Right. Just sit there and live with them and study them. We're the apes.
Don't doubt it. So you're a believer that we're not the only ones in this universe?
That's mathematically improbable to think that we're the only ones in this universe.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's mathematically. I like Neil deGrasse. He had mentioned the whole. If you look it up, he mentioned this whole, like, we have like a 3% advantage in intellectual brain power, and the differences between our DNA and like the smartest chimp, and the smartest chimp can only do what our toddlers can do, and we're like, that's the smartest chimp. He's the Einstein or the Hawking of chimps. And he's like, if you compare that and had an alien that only had 3% difference between them and us, that means that our Stephen Hawking and our Einstein would be doing what their toddlers do. And when he put that into perspective, I'm like, there's no possible way. If their toddlers are coming home and being like, look, Mom, I did quantum physics. My quantum physics homework. Look, Mommy. And I'm like, I can't even study quantum physics right now. It's so complicated. But that's what they're doing for their homework as toddlers. Oh, look at little Billy. I'm like, dang, man. They'd be so intelligent that if they wanted to wipe us out, we'd be gone. So if they exist and they know that we exist and they want to wipe us out, we're gone. It's not even a fight. It's Independence Day made it too one-sided, too even. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It'd have been like, our planet.
It's like well, Damian, you know I'm big into anime, so I saw this one anime a long time ago where the fantasy world opens up a gate into our world, right? So fantasy monsters, do guerrilla warfare attack, boom, they steal some people and come back. And then Japan sends in their army, and then in like one night they're like, we're going to war, and Japan's like, okay. And they just all fire Uzis, machine guns, tanks, helicopters. And like the one general in the army is like going insane because everybody's just dying in an instant next to him. And I'm like, that's the same kind of perspective. You have the technology that would just overwhelm, and it would seem like these are gods in comparison to what we would be able to do.
Yeah, it'd be no joke. I mean, the power sources and stuff that they would have, they'd snuff us out. Like, oh, you want to put up a fight? Like, just to show power, they would, if they wanted to keep us alive. Let's talk about that, because if they want the planet, I would assume it'd be like you moving into a house and be like, you don't move into a house that has termites and you go kill one termite at a time. You tent the house and kill them all. So it would be like, you know what? Well, let's make a virus, because we're just that advanced. We don't even have to blow you up. Let's make a human virus. It'll just target humans. Let's just DNA virus. There you go. Drop it. Sit back. Watch us all die. We'll rot away, and it'll be fine. And it'll be gone. Be done.
I don't like how you put that.
Well, it's not wrong. Like bug
disposal. I'm not disagreeing with him. I agree with him, but it's too easy.
Yeah, no, there's definitely no movie. There's no
It wouldn't be
movie
a movie out of that, 100%.
Oh, no, I agree with
It would be
if
a
they
short
want us
film.
dead, we'll die.
Yeah,
It's not a short film, it's a commercial.
It's a commercial.
30-second
Exactly.
commercial.
It's a bumper on a YouTube video.
The only way, like now, you could probably make that a film if you did it like you have one or two survivors, like the aftermath.
Well, the mutants. What you would have to have is the mutants, and without it becoming Battlefield Earth, you would have the mutants that, for some reason, the DNA virus didn't target, and so 1% of the population survived, and that 1% didn't get wiped out immediately afterwards because it was just so scattered. But there is something that can be done there. I mean, dude, when you're writing stories, you got to be able to write yourself out of an impossible situation. You're like, okay, so what? So they wiped us all out. How do you write yourself out of that? I mean, how do you make this interesting now? And that's what you do. You there has to be an immunity. Figure that part out, and you can still make a movie out of it.
See,
that's where the writing comes in.
Movie skills 101, like always know a way out.
I mean, how many movies have you seen, and you're like, how the hell are they going to get past this? This is like, what I mean, without it being like a dumb ex machina. Like they're in a bad situation, and then the Kool-Aid man comes busting through the wall. Oh yeah, and like, oh look, there's our way out. Like, don't Family Guy the situation. I'm talking about like you really got to legitimately figure out how they get out of it, and you end up trying to come up with creative things. And then most of the time, you end up having to go back to the beginning and put an Easter egg, because if you do something like that, people are like, that's whack. That was. What do you mean he has magical powers all of a sudden? This is a sci-fi. Where did he get magical powers? You got to be like, oh no, he reached for the glass and it came to his hand, and that one time when he got mad, the TV flickered, and then you're like, oh okay, I built up to it, so that's how he had magical powers. I just didn't catch on to it. Sixth Sense did that actually very well. Give credit to M. Night. The first time I saw it, I did not get that he was dead yet. All the clues were there, and I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I give that to him. That's one of that's
Hold on, time out. He was dead the entire time?
Jay, you're just messing with us right now. Is that another one that you did not see?
I've seen it.
I really do have to ask him every time I bring up a movie. Like, did you see that?
I didn't watch the other two though.
I have a clause, man. Look, it's been over a year. Yeah, man. It's like, look, I'm gonna spoil it, and I give you a pass. You were having kids, your dog died, it was a bad year, you didn't get a chance to see Endgame, fine, I won't spoil it for you. But come on.
You're a better person than I am. If you didn't see it within the first 4 months, I'm telling you everything.
Oh, I've outright not watched YouTube when I couldn't see a movie that I really wanted to see, and just avoided every review, not even the thumbnails, because sometimes they're like, why Thanos should have not died at the end. I mean, they'll drop something in the thumbnail. I'm like, you bastards! I didn't even know that part.
I've actually grown more accustomed to try dodge trailers to movies and shows because of that reasoning. Like I was telling Jay, I saw the new Ridley Scott, and I know you like Ridley Scott, so I saw the new Ridley Scott show, Raised by Wolves,
which I just got my HBO Max.
Ooh, have you watched it yet?
No, I just got it today.
Ooh, I think I would love to get your opinion on that. Sure. When you do watch it. I know Andy loves it, and I'm loving it. But the first trailer I saw, I watched the trailer, and then I watched the first episode, and I felt like, oh, this is what's happening. I feel like I know what's going on because I watched the trailer. Now, granted, after that, I'm like, this feels fresh now. I'm feeling like I'm starting to know what's going on, and like without having to let them come to the surprises. Let the surprises come my way. That is something I'm like I'm priding myself now. If someone goes, have you seen this trailer? I will watch it now, but I have not watched it before.
Right. I watched the first trailer.
Yeah.
So I watched the first trailer for like the Batman. I watched the teaser for the Ridley Scott Raised by Wolves. I don't really need to see even a whole trailer. All I need to see is enough of sometimes I watch a half a trailer, and I'll get halfway through the trailer because right about that 1 minute mark, if it's a 2 minute trailer, right after the 1 minute mark, they start having to fill up the other minute. They have to start giving away at least one or two plot details. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I just watch a half a trailer because the first half of the trailer is typically just setup, tease. And if you stopped you got enough of a look and feel to go, okay, cool. So like for me with the Batman trailer, I did watch the whole thing, but the first time I watched it, and the only reason I ended up watching the whole thing is because someone was asking me questions, and I was like, I don't know how to answer that. But the first time I watched it, I stopped at the moment that I saw Robert Pattinson enter the room, and he was in the Batman outfit. I'm like, yep, he looks good. Done. I'll wait. I'm good. Don't need to see anything else. The music, the taping, everything else. I'm like, yep, I know what he's going for. And I didn't go beyond that. So I'll watch the first trailer on some of these things, but they got to be. I prefer a 1 minute trailer, or a 30-second trailer. Those 2.5 minute trailers, that's what I liked about Star Wars. And not for nothing, Transformers had great trailers. The movies didn't live up to the trailers, but they had great trailers because they didn't give you anything really. They just gave you action and some stuff and whatever, and you're like, man, what a premise! And then they left you. I love the Star Wars trailers. Yeah, the films we can. Yeah, we're not going to get into that today. But
Nope.
the teasers that they came out with before each Star Wars always gave me hope. Like, okay, you guys got it this time. You got it. You figured it out.
Swing and a miss.
So, yeah,
No,
all about the teaser.
And you would know. You've done the trailers. You've done the work. Getting the hook in there. So, yeah, I was going to say, like, we've already held you up pretty far enough as it is. And
Yeah, he answered all my questions. I'm good.
Yeah, this has been great, man. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. We
Sweet,
appreciate it.
Thanks for the honor, man. Thanks for the honor.
Well, I guess just to make it official, would you like to plug yourself?
Yeah. So my Twitter handle has been updated because the Mr. Creative was not working. So the Mind of Damian, that's my Twitter. Mr. Creative Freedom or Damian Alpizar on Instagram. I have both. Mr. Creative Freedom is kind of like was my art and my getting out there. But now that people want to know me as Damian Alpizar the Director, you can follow me on both. The Other Side feature on Instagram or Don't Say Her Name on Facebook. Come follow us on Facebook. We drop updates. Right now, The Other Side will be seen on iHorror. We just were featured in Horror Hound. So now we official selection for iHorror. So the iHorror Film Festival is coming up. For those of you who haven't got a chance to see it, I think it's going to be a digital film festival. So it'll give you a chance to not only support independent filmmakers and horror filmmakers, but it also gives you a chance to see our film, The Other Side. And these people, iHorrors, they were the ones that launched the Nightmare trailer. So they're fam, and in a sense of like, they are very supportive of the independent horror film genre. And so anyone who does that is fam to me. So yeah, those are my plugs. Hold on. Hey, what's up? This is Damian Alpizar, Director of The Other Side. If you are watching NerdTots, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. These guys are nerding out right now. You can talk about D&D, comic books, anything you want. This is the spot to be at. NerdTots, hit them up. What's up?
And we out of here.
Like that.